Bardella, Democratic strategist, News Nation contributor. My friend, it is good to see you. Is this a real concern?
I don't think that it is, because remember, if you're going to have this conversation and if you are concerned about the electoral implications, well, there has to be a who's the other person that the pro-Palestinians who may not be happy with the Harris or the Biden-Harris agenda on this, like, who are they going to turn to? Donald Trump? That's not going to happen. The Republican Party? That's not really an option. And so while they might express their frustration and protest certain things, I don't buy that they're going to somehow be so upset with Kamala Harris that they're going to vote for Donald Trump.
Right. OK, so that's the uncommitted movement. That was the folks who voted uncommitted rather than for Joe Biden in the primary back when there were primaries and votes. Who remembers that time? And it was notable, right? 13% in Michigan, 19% in Minnesota, 15% in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, 5.6%. It may not be if those folks vote for Donald Trump. I think you're right. Kamala Harris is right. Who are you going to vote for? It is if, number one, they stay home. But number two, if there are protests at the DNC and you get that split screen of Kamala Harris talking and people wearing Hamas flags, that doesn't play well with suburban America.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think we have to acknowledge there are going to be some protests from, the anti-Israel side of this. That's what we've seen at every event, really across the political spectrum at this point, that they're not going away. And I think that the best thing that could happen to address that is some sort of ceasefire agreement, which obviously the Biden-Harris administration is working towards right now. We'll see if that actually translates to anything, or if it's more of just a Hail Mary, last-ditch effort, as you kind of alluded to in your open. It's not a great split screen.
Right, but the ceasefire would be something. It's something that, it'd be a huge win for Joe Biden. Charlie Cook, political analyst, founder of the Cook Political Report, with us now. You all moved a couple of states now into the toss-up category, a couple of the swing states. Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia had been leaning towards Donald Trump. Now they are toss-ups. We put up the map to 270 there. Given how much has changed and how rapidly it has changed in a couple of weeks, how long really do we need to watch this before we can say what direction the race is headed in?
I'd say probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on election night. This is going to be, look, the race had gotten away from Democrats. And, before the debate, Biden was down to like a 1 in 3 chance. After the debate, it was practically non-existent. This is now a race. It's very, very, very competitive. I mean, there are things that are facing, might give Trump a tiny bit of an edge, but it's a very competitive race. I'm not with the newsletter anymore, but it's the six classic swing states or toss-ups: the Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and then the Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. And it's, this one, it's going to be really, really close. And I would not at all be surprised to see Harris win the popular vote, but it's the Electoral College vote that matters, because the popular vote, $5 will get you a cup of coffee. But I agree exactly with what Kurt said a minute ago, that where are these people going to go? And within the Democratic Party, there is a unity in the Democratic Party that we haven't seen in a good while. And as strongly as some people feel about the situation in between Israel and Hamas and Palestine, that's going to be a pimple on the rear end of an elephant in terms of the scheme of where the right now. I think it's a lot of hot air.
I'm just thinking about the elephant. Kamala Harris's stump speech.
I put it up.
We appreciate that. Kamala Harris's stump speech seems to have almost the exact same lines time and time again. Take a listen.
We are not going back, because ours is a fight for the future. And it is a fight for freedom. So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom. We cannot go back. Ours has to be a fight for the future and a fight for freedom. We're not going back. Our fight is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom.
You know, Kurt, earned media is a great thing, and Kamala Harris has been getting it because people have been taking her rallies. The cable news networks have, some of the networks have. It was new, it was interesting, it was different. But now it's the same old stump speech. And what is Democrats' plan once the sugar high of, as Charlie pointed out, this new united feeling on the progressive left and into the mainstream of the Democratic Party, when all y'all are just talking to each other rather than watching Kamala Harris get free airtime on all the cable nets?
Well, I think that those themes, we're not going back, future and freedom, that's exactly what you're going to hear from now until November. It's called message discipline. And I think there are a lot of my friends and fellow Republican consultants who watch that and just dream of having a top of the ticket that could actually duplicate that type of consistency and continuity in his messaging. They would love for that to happen. Every strategist
well played, my friend.
Donald Trump could stay on message, if that, like, that is
Kurt,
exactly
Kurt,
that's
Kurt,
Democrats
when someone
in array
says
right there.
when someone says well played, that's when you just stop.
Take the win.
Right, you should take the win. Charlie, to that point though, it's one thing to say these lines, freedom, joy, we're not going back at a rally. This election is going to be decided by somewhere between 10 and 50,000 people in the states that you line up. How much do those people vote on the I'm trying to not be pejorative when I say this. How much do those people vote on the hypothetical language and the aspirational language versus, hey, this is how my pocketbook feels now versus when Trump was in 4 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, these are people that they don't love or hate Donald Trump. They don't love or hate Kamala Harris or Joe Biden for that matter. But they're people that they're not wringing their hands on the future of democracy. It's how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my mortgage? Fill up the grocery cart? That's what they're thinking about. And they may not like Donald Trump and the way he behaves, but on the other hand, they're not happy with where things are right now. And it's this push-pull that's going on that they're, kind of having to deal with. But, I think for, the energy, the excitement levels in the Democratic Party has pulled them back into the hunt. But at the end of the day, it's still 6 tough states, and it's still a cost of living that's 20% higher than it was, 4 years ago. And that's what makes this race so hard. But at least Democrats are in the hunt. And, a month ago.
Look, it's all of a sudden it's interesting and something to talk about. Kurt, is there any discussion among you and your Democratic consultant buddies when you all get together and do a happy dance because of how well things have been going for the past 18 days, the reality that things do change? Just ask Democrats who are Republicans who, after the DNC, were high on their own supply as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Democrats realize that, hey, this race is going to get tighter. As tight as it is right now, as within the margin of error it is, it's going to get even closer and narrower. And what we're talking about today is probably not what we're going to be talking about in 30 or 45 or 60 days. This race is going to have a lot of different turns and twists and contours. I do think that the one thing that Democrats say a lot is what we do know for sure is that Donald Trump is incapable of staying on message. And every time he goes off on a riff or starts insulting constituencies, that's going to drive the people that he needs to win into our arms.
Charlie, is it that simple?
Yeah, no, I think, Kamala Harris has done a terrific transition, rollout. Everything's going well. Ultimately, I think she could do everything perfectly and not win. I think this is a race where it's hard for her to win, or put it differently, it's more likely that Trump loses it than Kamala Harris wins it. And sort of increasingly irrational behavior and just sounding like, gosh, is he losing it? That's how this race goes.
The age question is now on the table for Donald Trump. And Charlie, I'll put it in a slightly different way, which is never underestimate Republicans' ability to screw things up. Oh, you see, I even got a laugh out of Bardella. Gentlemen, it's good to see both of you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too, my friend.
All right.